Buenas noches, profesor.
Hola, buenas noches. ¿Me escuchas bien?
Sí, profesora, te escucho bien.
Ok. Estoy teniendo problemas con el internet, por si acaso me desaparezco, yo vuelvo a entrar, ¿oíste?
Listo, estamos a nueve.
Ok.
Listo, profesor. Haciendo las 8:15, pues damos inicio a nuestra sesión número 6 de interpretación simultánea con la profesora Olga Salazar. Profesora, paso a compartir los parámetros de las sesiones por Zoom. Estudiantes, estos son los parámetros de las sesiones por videoconferencia. Las sesiones se graban, o sea que podemos verlas nuevamente en la plataforma virtual. Les solicitamos que por favor silencien su micrófono y puedan activarlo cuando quieran hacer consultas o aportes con el permiso del docente. Les pedimos que mantengan su cámara activa. De no poder hacerlo, enviar sus excusas por el chat de Zoom. O de lo contrario, serán retirados de la sesión y les serán restados puntos de la valoración del docente. Mi rol como moderador es facilitar y apoyar en la parte técnica. Las consultas las hacemos por el chat personal o general. Les exhorto a tener bolígrafo y papel para hacer sus anotaciones y aprovechar al máximo estas sesiones. Listo, profesora.
Gracias, Rafael. Vamos a esperar unos minutitos para ver si
Li-
ingresa un estudiante.
Listo, profe.
Okay, let's start. This is class C, and it will be about note-taking technique. What is note-taking technique? Note-taking technique is a technique that helps you to remember what have been said. So it is like to take note about everything you are listening during an interpretation. So it helps you to understand the message and help you to not miss something. So in case you miss something, you have your note in order to remember. So when we want to apply this technique, we use symbols, we use code, we use stars, circle, whatever you want that help you to remember something, sentencing, a line, anything and everything. Okay, this is a practice, but you will watch it in the end of the class, okay? Let's start with a concept about note-taking technique. The ground page. Here we are.
It was really dark. It was about 3 a.m.
So this is what we call note-taking. This person uses symbols, he uses line, he uses number, he uses letter in order to remember what is the person talking and in order to don't miss anything. Take a look.
Quite sure about that because the club always closes at that time. We came out through the back.
This technique makes sense just for you, okay? It is not a must to use this kind of symbols. You can use your own. That's the reason that this technique is just personal for you. Maybe the letter or the line or the star or the cycle or the line that I use, it is not the same for you. And it doesn't have the same meaning for you. It is just for me. What he is writing makes sense just for him, not for us.
Door into an alley. We saw two guys coming towards us. They had hooded sweaters. One of them came over to me with a cigarette in his hand and asked me for a light. The other one went over to my friend, Lola.
It was really dark. It was about 3 a.m. I'm quite sure about that because the club always closes at that time. We went out through the back door into an alley and we saw two guys coming towards us and they had hooded sweaters on. One of them came over to me and he had a cigarette in his hand and he asked me for a light. The other one went over to my friend, Lola. So it was really dark. Every time we hear someone say the words really or quite, we just basically draw a line and whatever comes after that, we draw it on top. In this case, really dark. It was about, so more or less, 3 a.m. We don't need the M. I'm quite sure about that because the club always closes, the infinity for always closes. This is my symbol for close. So this is my symbol for open, and this is my symbol for close. At that time, we went out through the back alley and saw two guys. This is a symbol, if you complete it, it looks like this for male, so two guys, but we don't need that. And this is my symbol for female, but I simply do this to save time. And we saw two guys coming towards us, just an arrow towards us, and they had hooded sweaters. So I draw this symbol for clothes or for sweaters, and this is my hooded, just HD. And then one guy came towards me. He had a cigarette. This is a smoking cigarette in his hand. I draw this symbol for hand, and asked me for a light. And the other one came over to my friend Lola. And as always, we draw this line to indicate the person has stopped talking.
You see, she said,
Don't need that. And this is my
she said her symbol. That's the reason that I said that this has just sent for us, because they are our symbols. Maybe you have different symbol from mine. I have my own symbol, and that's I use when I want to take note. This note taking you can use in your classroom as well, or in any conversation that you can make some note to remember anything. Like when you are in a meeting with your boss, something like that. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so note taking for interpreter. So I use the note taking technique is a useful technique that you can use in any situation, when you are in a meeting, when you are interpreting, or when you are having just a conversation, or you are, I don't know, in a conference, and you want to make note and remember everything that has been said. So besides having to knowledge of the target language, interpreters should also master their own language and cultures, as well as the cultures of the foreign language with which they work. There are also other significant aspects in the interpretation. Ethical and professional principles, the role of the interpreter as communication agent, and as the liaison between language and culture. Let's see here.
¿Necesita ponerse al día en su crecimiento físico? Ayúdalo a reactivar su crecimiento y apoya su aprendizaje. Nueva senda de Nestlé.
Siente la fresh eficacia del nuevo Colgate Flax Odor Control. Aliento sorprendentemente fresco.
Hello and welcome to Teachings in Education. I am your narrator, Frank Avella. In this video, we will explore several note-taking strategies. Strategies will be divided into linear type note-taking and non-linear type note-taking. Right now, we'll begin with the question of why should students take notes? One of the most important purposes of taking notes is to save and record information so that it can be reviewed and studied at a later time. Notes should explain information through summarizing what was described during the lecture or readings. Research indicates that note-taking in the classroom leads to increased student learning and academic success. Note-taking increases memory. This is due to the fact that information taken in this manner is dual encoded, both visually and auditory. Taking notes are an important factor towards success in college. Students should learn note-taking as early as they can. Several methods of note-taking help to organize information, thus making the information easier to comprehend. On to the next section, useful tips for note-taking. First off, use new pages for new lessons. It helps with organization, and it makes it easier when looking back to find notes. When taking notes, you're going to want to leave some space. This is so you can add questions and side notes to be reviewed later on. Abbreviations are used by good note takers. They do this to save time. CRESP can stand for cellular respiration. Another tip is to add dates to your notebooks. This helps when you have to identify what days you have missed in class. Lastly, you can write on the side of the notebook. Maybe as a note taker, you want to go back and expand on something previously written. You simply have to write it on the side. Next, we'll look at one example of a linear form of note-taking, and that example is outlining. Outlining is all about breaking down information into a logical format and sequence. Information is broken down from one idea to the next most relatable idea. Outlining is often used in science and mathematics courses. Here's an example of what it should look like. You have a main topic, then a subtopic, followed by a detail after detail, another subtopic, then detail after detail. The next linear type is the sentence method. Here, students easily write short sentences for topics of the lecture. The sentence method is most needed when taking notes during a fast-paced lecture with fast-talking professors. Each thought by the professor can be written as a sentence on a different bullet. Students must pay careful attention. This method isn't about breaking down information. It's just about recording the information. On to the first of the nonlinear note-taking methods, the SQR3 method. This stands for survey, question, read, recite, and review. This type of note-taking is used mainly for textbook material to be read and studied. Students may be assigned a chapter in the textbook to read. They can then begin the SQR3 method by skimming/surveying the material. From the main topics, students ask themselves and write down a series of questions. Next, the student reads, also looking for answers, and then the students write down notes based on their thoughts. That's the recite section. And it finishes up with students writing a summary of everything they have learned to be studied for upcoming exams. Moving forward, we come to the next section, which is the guided notes. Guided notes are given to students as a handout, with the majority of important ideas outlined in the notes. The notes may have some images and bullet points to emphasize the key topics. Other parts of the guided notes are left blank. That is done intentionally for the students to fill in. This actively involves students in the note-taking process. Students may use the guided notes as a study guide. I like that guided notes place responsibility on students while scaffolding the process as an assignment. I want to take a quick break right now and ask you to subscribe to this channel. Please subscribe and don't forget to like and share this video as well. Back to the nonlinear methods. Next, we have mind mapping. Mind mapping is mainly used to connect smaller ideas to larger ideas. Mind maps begin at the center of the page with a main purpose. Similar to mind maps are graphic organizers, which can help students identify connecting ideas. Mind maps may include drawings and images. They can be quite artistic as well. Students should be encouraged to make them as unique as possible. Moving along to the fourth of 5 nonlinear note-taking methods, we have charting. It is primarily used to organize information. One way to chart information is through tables. Tables are used in many different subjects, each time organizing information. Identifying similarities and differences is another way to chart. The use of similarities and differences is one of Robert Marzano's high-yield teaching strategies. Checklists also chart information as a sort of classification method, where information is easily sorted and recognized. Now on to the last of the nonlinear note-taking, which is the Cornell method. The Cornell method was developed by Walter Pock of Cornell University. Students use their notebooks to separate information into 3 distinct categories. The first category is cues, which are keywords and questions. Then there is also a section for notes, and at the very bottom, there's a summary of information section. At this point, I want to mention that all these forms of note-taking require active listening. Students should not be mindlessly copying down notes as they're written on the board. Note-taking is a cognitive process that requires summarizing, organizing, eliminating information, questions, and much, much more. Now, let's finish with a short look at digital note-keeping. Students can use digital technology such as laptops to help with poor handwriting problem or the problem of writing very slow by hand. There are problems with digital note-taking, however, like the added distractions that are right in front of the students. Some research shows less retention occurs if students take notes electronically as compared to taking notes by hand. Taking notes electronically does allow for students to make revisions and edit, much easier than crossing out words. New technology such as tablets allow students to write using software, and some software actually autocorrects the work. So there you have it, everything you ever wanted to know about note-taking. Right now, I just want to say thank you for your time. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and check the description link.
Okay, let's continue. So in consecutive interpreting, for the most experienced interpreters, note-taking is to a large extent small importance when compared with constant effort to analyze what is being said. Yes, in consecutive interpretation, we use note-taking technique. We can use in simultaneous interpretation because, when we are in simultaneous interpretation, we interpret in real time without stop. But in consecutive interpretation, you have a stop. You have time to see what you have wrote in a paper, in a notebook, in whatever you want, in a tablet, like the video says. Okay, effort to analyze what is being said, understand its meaning, and render it into a speech. However, for the less experienced interpreter, note-taking is so hard to overcome. It is to the later that this article is addressed, this course is addressed. So, the pitfall of note-taking. First and furthermore, let make it quite clear that the note-taking process is not entirely perfect. It can never be replaced the oral presentation we have here earlier. Nevertheless, much of what we say is for a little important for the purpose of the conversation. What we say is of little importance for the purpose of the conversation. The role of the interpreter is this note-taking process is, therefore, to select what is being said and to render only what will matter of the message recipes. When we apply note-taking technique, we use all these symbols in order to remember what is being said, what makes sense for us. So it's just take a little practice to make it perfect. Okay, advice on note-taking technique. Take note quickly. Jot down words that are easy to understand in order to enjoy your memory when you have to render the speech. Avoid using those pages. Write only on one side of the pages, and yes, use a pencil. Jot down readable note. During the rendition, always maintain eye contact with the audience. Use a letter size that can easily be read from afar. Avoid using ambiguous abbreviation. Okay. Note-taking technique. Further, this cannot be a mechanical process. The more mechanical the interpreter's note, the lower the quality of the interpretation. Taking note is not the same as taking dictation. That's correct. It is meant to jog the memory of the interpreter when he or she has to render the interpretation. Number 4, no are personal. Why? Because we use our symbols. This is why they can only be used by the interpreter who is doing the work. And no are short-lived and can only be used within minutes after the speech to be interpreted as delivery. So you have to be fast. Okay, always take note of the main idea. Secondary idea will be remembered during the mental interpretive process and rendition. So it's really important to improve and train our memory. Opinions and point of view, they are always perceptible and the interpreter might not be able to transpose them to his or her interpretation during rendition. Numbers that are very important for the speech. At the same, every language are easy, quick to know down. Proper names, because you don't have to translate them. For proper names, difficult to understand, the interpreter should jot them down as they sound. Also take note of geographical names, names of companies and organizations, abbreviations and acronyms. Technical terms that are less frequent and may sound uncanny to the interpreter. Mnemonics, memory aid to help to interpreter jog his or her memory during rendition. Connectors, they connect the memory and what the speaker has said. They are important because they show the sequence of ideas and also opposing ideas. What happened and when. So verb tenses, because they situate the speech in time. The sentence is said by the speaker that serve as introduction and conclusions as they help to understand the speech. Keyword that are important not for the linguistic meaning, rather for what they mean in the interpreter mind. How to take note. Okay, it all depends on the purport of the speech to be interpreted, and informative speech requires full note-taking, especially when it is about particular unusual fact. However, if the event is unusual, one word may be enough, and descriptive speech also need full note-taking, but based on detailed aspect that perfectly describe what is meant to be conveyed. An argumentative speech is based on much less information, especially connector and some keyword. Okay, note should be taken in the language into which the interpretation will be made. The interpreter will therefore be less likely to use a literal translation in the head of the speech. If the interpreter doesn't remember a word in the target language when taking note, and to avoid being stuck on that word and getting lost in the speaker's speech, he or she should note down the term in the source language and continue to take note. Maybe you remember after a few minutes. This will save a lot of time until the right word comes to his or her mind. Some interpreters have developed a perfect system of symbols to help them later on. Abbreviation, on the other hand, can be very useful when we are dealing with name of countries, unit of measurement, chemical element, and among others. Writing too much or too little. So the interpreter should jot down as little as possible, as quickly as possible, to avoid getting stuck on words. The aim is to deliver a plain and accurate speech, yet by basing on the information he or she jotted down. Note-taking symbols. So let's see some symbols that we can use when we are going to make note-taking. Let's see. But remember that this is not a must that you have to use the symbol that we are going to see. You can use whatever you want and whatever it may work for you.
¿Sabías que podías ganar dinero respondiendo encuestas online? Te presentamos queopinas.com, la comunidad online donde nos interesa tanto tu opinión.
Hello friends, in this video we're going to look at some common symbols used for taking notes in English. But why? Well, consider the fact that the average American speaks at a rate of about 150 words per minute. However, the average American writes at a speed of about 5 to 20 words per minute. So if you can only write down 5 to 20 words per minute, that means you're missing about 130 words per minute that somebody's saying, and there's probably a lot of information in those words. So if you're sitting in a college class, for example, and you need to take notes on what the teacher is teaching about, you're not going to be able to keep up if you're just writing every word the teacher's saying. So it's helpful to find some shortcuts so that you can keep up with listening to the teacher while also writing down the important information that the teacher is saying. So in this video, we're going to go through some common symbols used to write down some common information. And this is one shortcut that you can use when you're taking notes. So the first symbol here is the ampersand or the plus sign. Either of these symbols mean and, plus, or with. For example, if somebody says, I want a cheeseburger and French fries, we could use either of these symbols to help shorten the sentence to be something like this, cheeseburger and fries. Related to this plus sign here, some people will also write a symbol like this. So it's just a shortened form of the plus. So you can do it without picking up your hand off of the paper. And this means and. The next one is a universally known sign, that's the dollar sign. So we can use the dollar sign to mean money, value, or cost. So for example, if someone says California is an expensive place to live and you need to write that down, you can use the dollar sign to talk about the expense and how expensive it is. So your notes might look something like this. California is expensive living. And here we can use like $2 signs to talk about, really expensive or more expensive. The equal sign can mean is or equals. Basically, it can mean am, is, are, was, or were, any of the be verbs, or equals. So when we're showing that things are the same. For example, if I say knowledge is power, and I wanted to write that down in my notes, then I could write it something like this. Knowledge equals power. So knowledge is power. Next to this is the opposite, which is the unequal sign. So this can mean is not or does not equal. For example, being rich does not equal being happy. So we can use this symbol to take notes on this and shorten it down to something like this. So we can use this dollar sign for being rich, and we can use the unequal sign for does not equal, and the little smiley face for being happy, something like this. But it shows that the two things don't equal each other or are not the same. The next symbol here is the greater than symbol. It's a math symbol. So this can mean more than, greater than, or bigger than. For example, if somebody says the population of Texas is more than the population of Florida, we can shorten this a lot by using this symbol. So we could write something like this in our notes. So Texas population greater than Florida. The opposite of this is the less than symbol. So less than, fewer than, or smaller than. It could mean any of these things in your notes. For example, if someone says Mark Zuckerberg's net worth is less than Jeff Bezos's, we could shorten that in our notes to be something like this. Zuck's money is less than Bezos' money. And if you're not sure who these people are, Mark Zuckerberg is the owner of Facebook, or was the owner of Facebook. I think it's a public company now. And Jeff Bezos is the founder of Amazon. So Jeff Bezos is actually considered the richest man in the world. Now, with the greater than and less than symbol, one way that you can use to remember which one is which is that the bigger number goes on the open side of the symbol and the smaller number goes on the pointy side of the symbol. The next symbol here is the approximately or the about symbol. So it's like an equal sign, but it's a little bit wavy. So it means it's not exactly the same as, but it's close. For example, if we say Jeff Bezos' net worth is about $180 billion, we can shorten this to something like this. So Bezos, about $180 billion. The next symbol is the at symbol, and it looks like an A with a little hook around it. Now this one gets used on social media, but when we're taking notes, it means something different than it's used for on social media. So for example, if I say I work at 7 in the morning, I could shorten this if I'm writing a note to myself to something like this, work at 7 a.m. So we use this a lot for times. On social media, it's used for, I think, talking to somebody if you're naming them, but here it just means at, so we call it the at symbol. And you can draw it just by doing a little a and then doing a circle around it like that. The next one is the number sign or the pound sign. And this actually we can use to talk about numbers, or we could use it to talk about weight. For example, if we say heart disease is the leading cause of death in the United States, if we're taking notes on this information, we could shorten it to something like this. Heart disease, #1 killer in the US. So we're using this number sign or pound sign to talk about the leading cause or the #1 cause of death. Now on social media, again, this gets used for something different. So if you're used to using it for like a hashtag, that's not what it's meaning here. It's meaning number or pound. And this actually comes from the abbreviation for pound, which is LB, which comes from Latin. And when people would write this down, they would put a line over it. And so eventually we got this symbol here. So people used to call it the pound sign, but we also use it for numbers. The next symbol here is just the arrow pointing to the right. And so we can use this for leads to or causes. For example, if we say smoking can cause lung cancer, then we could shorten this in our notes to something like this, smoking, arrow, lung cancer. So leads to or causes lung cancer. If you're not sure about some information, if you have a question or you're uncertain, or if something's possible, then we can use the question mark. So if somebody says it is possible that cell phones cause cancer, then we could do something like this in our notes, cell phones cause cancer, question mark, with meaning it's possible or we're not exactly
Wait a minute.
sure about that.
Okay, let me check. Is the 8? Okay. We are having some trouble connection, so don't be worried. Okay, let's continue with the PowerPoint. Because the video is too heavy for the internet connection. So let me close here. And continue. Oh.
Estudiantes, al parecer la profesora se quedó sin señal. Vamos a esperar que ella vuelva a conectar. Ahí está ya entrando.
Hello, I'm here again. Okay, let's continue. So we are having some trouble with the internet today, but it's okay. Where we were seeing or the symbol that we can use in order to make note-taking technique. Okay, let's continue. So we can use not only a picture, short word, pair of letters, single letter. The important thing that you can use something that represent what the person has said. So you have to listen to the message and visualize and only jot down key unit of meaning. Abbreviate any word longer than 4 letters. Okay, let me see. How can one recall what a speaker says by escribing symbol on notebook for 10 or 15 minutes and then interpret the message into another language? It's possible. It isn't black magic, but it's possible because the excellent note-taking technique requires the acquisition of multiple skills. Let's start by focusing on just one because as they saying goes, don't bite off more than you can chew. So I don't see that we will be able to show you the video, so let's continue. So we have here some symbols that you can use when you want to make note-taking. In this case, they are like pictures, like lines that maybe don't mean same for me, but it means same for you. So we have economy, emerging country, immigrate, emission, Europe, Euro Union, forget, goal, government, health, however, human right, immigrate, industry, international, invest, learn, life, listen, money, others, person, point of view, and political. But you can create your own one as well. And we have this one as well that you can use. The one that is in the keyboard. The turn, rise, fall, exchange, leg 2, consequent of, the force. Even whatever you want to mean. So why is effective note-taking important for interpreter? Also, experienced interpreters tend to give fewer credit to note-taking. It will be the same case for beginners. The former has sufficient practice over note-taking and interpreting for years. They are concerned more about what they are not good at. This is how they can get better and better at their job. However, beginners still lack practice in note-taking, so they certainly should pay extra attention to it. Note-taking can reduce stress. Even the most experienced interpreter would feel stressed at the beginning of a conference. So considering the possible unknown factor, they are about to cope with new terms, speaker accent, technical issues. So the more unknown factor out there, the more stable they'll become. So note-taking technique can assist short-term memory during consecutive interpreting. Information is mostly processed and retained as short-term memory or working memory. So note-taking can facilitate logical delivery. You can always expect all speakers to present ideas clearly and logically. Also, certain language convey ideas in more explicit manners, such as Chinese, Japanese, and Saudi. What to write in your notebook or note-taking? Whatever it makes sense for you. Remember that you have to create your own symbols or use the one that are already made. So find a balance between note and memory. It's quite normal for beginners to rely too much on note As I said, invent and use symbols and abbreviation as an interpreter. You take notes in symbol and abbreviation rather than fully spelled word. So, avoid mixing language. Interpreters are usually multi-language speakers. They can take notes in any language as long as they personally feel comfortable with. Okay, I have a practice. Remember that I told you that I will put it in the last slide. Let me show you. Okay, let's see this example. Let's see if we are looking enough to see it because the internet is giving me some trouble tonight. Let's see.
Hello and welcome to Interprepedia. My name is Rosa. I'm an interpreter. And if you're struggling with notes or if you feel your note-taking skills could use some improvement, watch this because your life is about to change. Make sure you watch the whole video because although at first I'll ask you to do a couple of things, if you want to, I will do a note-taking demonstration at the end. Now, before we begin, if you want to put this to the test, hit pause, grab pen and paper and something to record yourself. It can be your phone, someone else's phone. If you're using yours, it can be your computer, a voice recorder, but try to find something to record yourself. Otherwise, you won't be able to tell how well this works or not. If you just want to follow along and see where this goes, that's cool too. Just keep playing the video, but if you're going to test it out, hit pause right now. Okay, so I will play a recording of a short, simple story. We are going to listen to the story first without taking notes, just to test how reliable our memory is. Everything will be done in English because what we are testing here is our memory and note-taking technique, not really interpretation skills. After I play the recording, I will give you a few seconds so you can hit pause and you can record yourself trying to retell the story as closely as possible to what you heard. And that will be our first step. Today was my day off. I got up at 7 a.m. I didn't sleep all night because I was hearing noises coming from the backyard all night. I was very scared. I thought it was a burglar, but it was just the wind. I called my mom while I made some coffee and eggs for breakfast. We spoke for about an hour. No, we talked for like 2 hours, until about 9 a.m. Then I put on a gray hoodie, navy leggings, and white sneakers to go for a run. It was a little chilly outside. When I came back home, I took a shower and I took a nice long nap. All right, here is the transcript of what you just heard. You can hit pause again to listen to your recording and compare it to the transcript. When you finish, you can hit play again because we are going to do another little test. This time, I would like you to take notes as best as possible and then do the same thing. Using your notes to aid your memory, try to retell the story and record yourself. So get ready with your pen and paper and let's listen to the story once again. Today was my day off. I got up at 7 a.m. I didn't sleep all night because I was hearing noises coming from the backyard all night. I was very scared. I thought it was a burglar, but it was just the wind. I called my mom while I made some coffee and eggs for breakfast. We spoke for about an hour. No, we talked for like 2 hours, until about 9 a.m. Then I put on a gray hoodie, navy leggings, and white sneakers to go for a run. It was a little chilly outside. When I came back home, I took a shower and I took a nice long nap. Okay, you can relax now. We are done with these little experiments, but this would be a great time to let me know in the comments how did you do when you didn't take notes and how well you did when you took notes. Did you feel your notes distracted you? Did you have a hard time keeping up? Did you have a hard time figuring out what you actually wrote? Please let me know in the comments because it would mean a lot to me if you do. If you felt some of that or all of that, trust me, I understand because that was me. I've been there. Actually, I still am there sometimes because this is something that requires constant fine tuning and practice. So now all you have to do is watch. I will play the recording while I take notes, following a method that I learned. And I know you could think I am kind of sort of cheating because I made this recording and I have practiced this. But the big picture here is the technique that I will show you. And then I will tell you how you can learn it too and apply it to any situation where you have to take notes. So check this out.
Today was my day off. I got up at 7 a.m. I didn't sleep all night because I was hearing noises coming from the backyard all night. I was very scared. I thought it was a burglar, but it was just the wind. I called my mom while I made some coffee and eggs for breakfast. We spoke for about an hour. No, we
Okay, so I see she used some symbols in order to remember everything that is in the reading. So this is called note-taking technique. So in the platform, you have a assignment that you have to develop. You can use this symbol in order to make yours. Okay, my dear student, that's all for tonight. See you next Tuesday. Listo, Rafael.
Listo, profesora. Si no
Gracias.
tenemos más consultas o aportes, damos como finalizada esta sesión de la noche de hoy. Gracias, profesora.
Bye, bye.
Bye.